the death of a favorite, the rise of a nobody, the return of the Dream King, and Diamant? We've got so much to talk about. Let's just jump right in though and look at Light and Dark Season. First off, we have to talk about Chrom, and it's really less about Chrom. Understand, because I know some of you are just die-hard fans, and this is all about melee GALEFORCE, which is just getting harder and harder to do. It's taking multiple hits to take units down, multiple actions. These teams are all about action economy, and as nukes and tanks and everything else gets bulkier, it just gets difficult. This should be an incredible clear, and instead they get absolutely strung out and end up leaving Seliph out there just hoping that he can live through that miracle effect. Obviously this doesn't happen, and from there things just go downhill, but in general, GALEFORCE clears are getting more and more difficult. I'm not saying they aren't possible. Please don't misunderstand me. You diehards will probably be able to use GALEFORCE for forever. But I would recommend going more the AoE route. AoE Alm, things like that do much, much better than things like, well, your traditional Chrom clear. RIP Chrom. Next up we have Diamant, and listen, this is less about Diamant losing value and more about us realizing what he is as a community. So, Diamant is not the best Omni tank, and that's just what it is. Like, the unit is okay if you absolutely go bonkers with investment, then he can be good, but he's never gonna be that top tier level. Now, as a melee frontliner, that's a completely different topic, but what I'm saying here is what we thought he was is less than what he actually is. So, yeah. Let's move on to someone who has gained a ton of value here just recently, and that is Milla. Now, the reason is because GALEFORCE clears have lost value. Hit and run and end turning has gained value, and shutting off a dancer often keeps shenanigans from happening. In this particular case, you're not only, you can shut off a dancer, but in this particular case, you are shutting off a rally. And so a lot of the way this cav line works is creating multiple interlaps between nukes so that you can be able to hit a single unit with two different types of targets there. If you can't do that, then suddenly it becomes one-dimensional and very easy to pick off, and Milla's just the unit for the job. What can I say? Speaking of hit and run, we have Hinoka up here. She's made my list several times, but I continue to come back to her because of just how good her effects are for hit and run teams. This is not to say that she's easy to use. I wouldn't say that at all, in fact. But understand, this is saying that she is very powerful and can shape the meta. I have started seeing different teams utilizing either her or something like her a lot, and so that hit and run style has become more and more popular as some of the tools that have been there are starting to become more common to use. This is a fun clear to see though. I mean, the first thing you really have to concentrate on is taking out dancers or anything that extends range. Keep that in mind. A lot of your traditional hit and runs, you went up and smacked one unit, pulled every other unit to the far corner, and then, I mean, in the old days that worked. In the new days now, with so many dancers and guidance for and to change fate running around like crazy, you really do get tracked down no matter where you are on the map. And so, this new style where you're going in and taking out several units, letting the fence go off and going back in, yeah, it works much better. I say new style, it's been around for a while, but it hasn't needed to be used as much. Next up we have, Legendary Seliph. I have a whole video on this, and in fact it has a more thought out and slower version of this clear, but what can I say about this unit? I mean, they gave him everything, and this is one of the big reasons why I am not too afraid of the rise of Catria balls, because we're starting to get tools to kind of have counterplay, and I like this because we're going to start seeing some more creative things. Are we going to still see stock Catria balls and cav lines? Yes, definitely, but I think Seliph kind of forces us into some different items. Now, a lot of this me saying that the rise of this unit is big, the effect on the meta has yet to be seen. And we'll talk about that in a bit, but I'm not sure everyone is going to be using this unit because for whatever reason, folks don't like to be using older units. And there are some exceptions, Brave Hector, Brave Dimitri, and I think this unit is that powerful. But again, you just never know. There are units that I'm dead positive are going to enter the meta and just smash it and then don't. So let's see how the whole meta does. If you have this unit though, please go make them absolutely destroy things for me. Let's talk about Astra season and fun times here. First thing is Lucia. I understand that Lucia is still high on the list. I still have her as a solid, like, meta tier Omni tank. But I think every week we're going to see her start to tick down. Here we're seeing speed just absolutely rule today. And the other thing is, and we'll talk about it a little more in a second, but the damage reduction A skills for nukes is very powerful. We're starting to see that just the ability to keep the ability to survive is a wonderful thing for nukes and makes it harder for that turn 2. In this case, Lucia doesn't even survive turn 1. So anyway, this next one, you guys knew this was coming, right? Elamine. I don't know what to say. This is kind of a combination here between Elamine and Freyr. The interaction there and being able to counter, like hard counter false start is big. But notice that the drop there is not as big as you might think. And we have to pause here because we're going to dance and Freyr is going to one-shot this unit. Boom. What do you do with that? That's amazing. That wasn't actually a one-shot. It was 2 because of Katria, but shh, we'll call it a one-shot. Anyway, back to Elamine. Elamine is still an excellent unit. Understand that, because the ability to give buffs and also to have damage reduction and a drive is still really good. And that's the reason I don't have her just falling off the map. But she isn't the meta definer that she once was. Moving on, I want to talk to Swift Sparrow, and you guys see this. Like, this is all of those damage reduction skills, and this is more of what we're talking about before. Lucia was suffering from lack of speed. This Fjorm isn't so much suffering from lack of speed, but cannot get that kill on Shamir, and that is problematic. And I say that if Fjorm would have doubled here, I mean, she would have won. But the fact that units can stick around is a big deal for things like Wings of Mercy 4, which I thought about putting up here as gaining value. The issue is it's not available at all. Like, you never see it because it's so hard to get. We'll see if that changes with the return of Hinoka, but folks who like her are probably going to try to merge her as opposed to fodder her. Wings of Mercy 4 is very powerful in conjunction with the Swift Sparrow, other type of Swift skills. Like it is absolutely phenomenal, and you should be using these on your defense if you've got the fodder. Next up, Ymir. Okay, this is a weird clear, and I mean, you Chrom fans are probably going to look at this and say, you see, Chrom's amazing. So I understand that the reason that this clear works is almost solely because of Ymir. And here's the deal. We have been sleeping on these ranged Omni tanks. They have slowly been getting better, and Ymir is an example of that. There are times where she just absolutely owns a map. This isn't just Ymir. This is Ymir, Duo Asker, Gateau, just a range of different units that do very well in that role. Are there things you have to watch out for? Are there hard counters? Yes. But I'm convinced that these are a part of the meta that's going to be around for a bit, and something that you should either be preparing for on defense or making your own on offense because of how powerful they are, and also because of the return of Katria balls and the fact that you're going to need nukes badly. Whew. All right, we already talked about Freyr and how amazing he is. Let's go over to Chaos Season, because this is just always an utter crapshoot. It's so hard to find these highlights, these up and downs for Chaos Season because, I mean, let's be honest, it is so much luck involved. But one of the things is using your bonus unit as a carry because so many folks still forget to get the bonus kill. Like, it's hard when you're in the moment. And the bonus stats are so powerful, and you add on extra bonuses like from Legendary Robin, and things just go nuts. Summoners, try to construct your teams around bonus units, and you will have an easier time in the mode. The mode is already pretty easy, and we already have some pretty ridiculous nukes, so why not have fun with it? Moving on, I mean, it feels like I'm beating a dead horse here, but we've got Chrom, and we're going to see Chrom just struggle. I mean, what can I say? This is more of the GALEFORCE clear shenanigan type things. It is just very, very difficult right now to pull those off. Chrom doesn't show much until the very end here, where he tries to go up and, like, desperation time, can't actually get anything else, and ends up triggering a trap. And that's all they had. Like, that was all that was available. So, Summoners, if you are a GALEFORCE fan, you are waiting for that premier unit to come back. All of the melee calves that we've been getting have been more in the hit and run range than in the GALEFORCE range. I expect a new unit to come out soon that changes that, and we'll see if that arrow goes back up. That might even be a CYL unit, although I don't know what that archetype would be. I threw in Robin here because I am just continually astounded by how this unit somehow gains value, even while being the most valuable unit in the game. What do you say to something like that? Like, that is really crazy. Here, this unit just absolutely bonks a bonus season Dimitri, and it is nutty. This unit has a lot of just about every stat available to it just because of how easy it is to stack Unity. Plus 32 speed on that hit that you just saw. I don't know what to say. It is tough to counter him in almost any mode. In Chaos Season, he just rules the day because you don't have to worry about seasonal blessings. All right, the last thing, and I liked the way this went last time, so I'm going to try to kind of incorporate this and what's going on in the meta as a whole with the different archetypes. We talked about GALEFORCE. I wanted to go in just a little more about this. This is your textbook GALEFORCE team. Like, everything about this is a highly merged team with a ton of, like, Valoria support, and Chrom's there, and they just continue to beat their head against this Freyr. And here's the thing. So whenever you can't player phase teams, when that ability goes down, things like Catria Ball with low threat range, their value goes up. And that is a direct correlation there, and that is why you see Catria Balls heading that way. Like, Freyr was a huge, huge thing for them. And now we have 2 seasons that have good Catria Ball coverage. These things will just never die. I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I want to see the thing that counters Catria Balls. Like, that scares me. Like, the solution would be worse than the problem was. Next up, so a little bit about cav lines, and this is what we were talking about with the meta. Like, did Seliph come in? Yes. Does Seliph counter almost every cav line? And I've tried him against a bunch. Yes. Is he going to be common enough to change the momentum of cav lines? I don't know yet. Right now, I've got them holding steady right here. So just understand that. It's the same thing with Omni tanks. I've got them ticking up just a bit. If Seliph becomes a common thing, then as a meta, you have to worry more about them, and they head up. Save balls for the same reason start heading down, because it's just, yeah, there's so many great nukes, and it is easy to take advantage of them, and Catria Balls are on the rise, so there we go. Next up we have Hit and Run, and keep in mind, like, I keep having Hit and Run rising, but they were so low for so long. This clear, though, is probably the best clear I've seen in months, and I'll try to get as much of this on here as possible because it is just so impressive. But the the play that they're able to get done with a unit like Leo, who I love, is finally hitting the meta. I knew how powerful this unit was when I saw him, and there weren't the right pieces. It wasn't the right time. Like I expected him to come on the scene, and I saw 3 different Leos this same season. So understand that he is probably going to be visiting you, and he's hard to counter just because, I mean, he's a walking tactics room. So keep that in mind. He's part of the reason that hit and run things have gotten better. The other reason is all of these available units. And this doesn't use the Hinokas of the world or the crazy calves we've gotten like Tea Time Shez. But understand that that doesn't mean that those units are something that's a part of this that's making these very powerful. Understand that as we go. But yeah, let's get to the real meat here and talk about Arena. Everyone's favorite mode. Everyone's means of getting their free summoning tickets. Like that's the real reason we all play Arena. Okay, these two are very intertwined here. The drop of Corn, and I'm never going to tell you not to build or not to summon for an enemy phase legendary, but just historically they don't age well. Like some of you will point to Seliph and say, well, look at that unit, how good he is, but that is by far the exception. These units are very, very hard to make do things. And you're seeing Hector just come in and pummel her, and it's Hector. Like, I love Hector, don't get me wrong. But you add in the bold fighter seal there, and different things start to happen, especially for folks that are stuck with armors as their score bots. This is a huge deal for them. You can now take your score bot armor and actually give them some player phase capability. And that's huge. Not to mention that GALEFORCE is now so much easier with a lot of these armors because you get a guaranteed double and you get special acceleration. Combination of those two is very, very powerful for GALEFORCE units. I love this Bullfighter seal. I'm a huge fan. In Arena itself, it gives us a slight uptick, but overall, I think it is healthy for the meta, and I think it is good. Let's talk about Eliwood. In the same vein, like we just had the Eliwood season, I don't have him just bumping up a ton, but understand that this really affirms the fact that supportive legendaries are just the way to go. That is not true in every mode, by the way. I don't believe it is no longer the case where you always go for supportive units and you will be rewarded. I don't think that has been that way for a couple of years. It was for the first bit of FE, like the first 3-4 years, I believe that is a hard and fast rule. It's just not anymore. But legendaries are a different thing because you're stuck with them for so long. So, supportive legendaries are amazing, and particularly Eliwood has so many amazing supportive aspects. I mean, how can we finish out Arena without talking about Legendary Seliph? Because holy cow! I mean, what do you even do with this unit? I was looking for this exact matchup with Corrin earlier, and I was very pleased with it. But just as a whole, like the fact that this unit survives Veronica because of that miracle is incredible. I'm a huge fan, and I am really excited. I have a merged up Seliph. What do you say? I mean, this is a great unit, and I think will be good for... I think this unit will be good for a bit, to be honest. We still have to see CYL units. CYL is where they introduce all of the new things, and we start to get a picture of how the meta is going to shape up. So I am wildly curious about that. We'll have a special meta report just for CYL units. It's time to talk about Summoner Duels, and I don't have a whole lot for this mode, which is kind of weird. Normally, this is the most volatile of modes, but part of that is because we have a huge gap, right? The first one up here, Citrine, understand that Citrine, this doesn't reflect on her value. This reflects on how the community is seeing her as just an absolute world beater who is going to destroy everything. And she's not. She's a good unit, and I'm showing a replay here where she just absolutely demolishes me. What I'm not showing is the 7 Citrine matches before this where she got demolished by me, and it is very, very difficult to use her properly. I mean, that's all there is to it. You can. I think this is a great example. If you wanted to build a team like this, you can go back, and I have the individual builds for each of these that you can watch. but it's going to be difficult to make her work right. Bramamon, I probably should have talked about Bramamon in Light Season. I haven't seen a whole lot of him, so it's hard. But understand that I have used him and I have seen his effects. And I think he is an excellent Omni-Tank killer, which is the biggest threat in Light Season right now. But I kind of reserved my talk about him for Summoner Duels S because he has so many of the qualities that you want in a nuke. He hits hard, he has feud, he goes great in a Catria Ball. Like there are so many ways that this unit is powerful. So keep that in mind as we're going through. I have absolutely loved using this unit as a threat, and I wish I had a better showcase for him. But most of the time, he kind of scared off a lot of units that he should have been able to absolutely blast. So this replay is all the way back to SDR, which was, it feels like an eternity ago. The reason I don't have a whole lot of replays for this SDR was how canned it was. And it was really just either you had this exact team or you didn't, and that depended on how hard of a time you had. And it was wild, the difference in the experiences for that. But included in Summoner Duels S is the Unity stacking plague that has been everywhere. It is a thing. It is very powerful. It is something you should take advantage of. It is a thing that will be hard countered soon because it's used too much. There is just no way that there's no world where they don't put some kind of counter for this out there. And the very last thing I want to talk about is Soaring Guidance. I don't even have a replay for this. This is more availability for Guidance 4. The uptick has nothing to do with Soaring Guidance itself. Like, the skill is amazing, but we already knew it was amazing, and it doesn't particularly add another wrinkle to this. So you have an uptick, and it's great. I mean, it's fantastic. I like Guidance 4 better, but it depends on what kind of team you want to build. I've seen folks use both very well. And we'll go through this last thing. I still think Cav lines are having a slow trickle down. We'll see. I could be proven wrong. There could be a lot of different things. I keep hearing folks come up with different creative ways to use them, and what ends up happening is the consistency is just so low. Like, when they work, it's amazing. It's just phenomenal. And when they don't, you're stuck. Like, you're just hard countered. We talked about that last time too, though, and it's just a kind of continuation of that. Catria Balls continue to get new toys. I think Tea Time Lucithia is kind of incredible and just gives Catria one more toy to work with. Not to mention Soaring Guidance and Guidance 4 and all of the stuff that Catria Balls have already gotten. Guard Bearing. I mean, putting Guard Bearing on Catria too. What else do you say? I mean, this unit's incredible. And they keep on giving the teams that she's in new toys. As far as raid bosses, I don't have much to say here because we haven't really seen the ticker move. I actually thought Diamant was going to be an amazing raid boss, and it turns out he's good, but he's not like he's not Altina good. Like, he's not that unit that becomes the face of raid bosses. So for the most part, I haven't seen a huge move in those, and they are more or less holding steady. Last thing we've got, so normally I talk about fodder and investments because I really think that is how the meta has been moving itself. But for this one, I just wanted to talk about one-offs that are very good, very usable. And Seliph, I get this unit. You're going to love using them. His base kit is amazing, but you can add on Alarm, Attack, Defense for the extra stats, and it's never bad to have Canto 1 and extra buffs. Like, you will love this unit. I want Alarmed Attack Defense to put on this unit. I don't have it yet. I am very jealous of those who do. Next up is Freyr, and he's very good. We talked about this in DTM's monthly recap, and I mean, the unit, I believe, is the next Arvel. Like, Arvel was really hard to use at first, and then folks found a reason to use him because of all the things he brought to the table. The res stacking, the guard, the nuke ability, like, all of that was fantastic. This unit hits really hard, is really bulky, shuts down Elamine. What more do you want? This is a unit that you want at least a single copy of. The last, and this is kind of nukes in general, but I think Joshua kind of exemplifies the Flashing Blade 4 physical no follow-up C-Feud build that pretty much you can take this from Ulchrist and just run with it, right? But this is a very good build, and this applies to a lot of nukes. This makes a lot of nukes very, very good. So keep that in mind. These are one-offs or things you can give to your favorites to really make them strong. If you'd like just some more lighthearted fun, I've got the top 5 worst of Gen 7, which is always a good time. You can go look at that and have a blast. If you really like the content, I always love super chats. They help the channel a ton, or you can become a member. And I mean, channel members, you are incredible. Thank you so much for what you do. Summoners, take care and schedule an appointment with your FEHologist real soon.